St. Jose Maria Escriva talks in the Furrow about the obligation of responsibility, right? And at section 967, he says as follows, which struck me. He said, if someone thought that wolves could be reared among sheep, imagine what chance the sheep would have. So again, he said, if someone thought that wolves could be reared, not just commingled, he uses the word reared, and he brought up, formed, among sheep, imagine what chance the sheep would have. That struck me as a Catholic dad and as a parent. And what caught my attention was the imagery of wolves, sheep, which we see through Scripture often, right? Christ is the good shepherd, that type of thing. But then the use of the word reared specifically struck me, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm rearing children, rearing sheep. And the challenge I think that Escriva gives to us as Catholic parents is, are you letting the wolves into the home while you're rearing your sheep? Now, what's a wolf? It's not necessarily a thing in the sense that it's not a person necessarily, although it could be. But more specifically, a wolf is anything, I think, that gets in the way of spiritual flourishing. And the challenge, I think, to Escriva is, what obligations and responsibilities do you have as a Catholic parent to ensure that the wolves are not reared with your sheep? And are you doing what you need to be doing to make sure the wolf's not in your home? And so that would be my thought is, what's your wolf in your life? What's your wolf in your children's life, whatever it might be? And are you doing what you need to do to ensure at the infancy stages where the spiritual development of your children is so vital that you're making sure the wolves stay away? The bigger heartbreak for me as a parent in the know isn't necessarily the temper tantrum, and that's like whatever, let them kick and scream on the floor. It's part of toddler behavior to some extent. That's not what pulls at my heartstrings as a parent. It's sometimes the no to the wolf when you know that comes at a cost of, at that time at least, your child's ability to understand the big picture. And so the child in that moment thinks there's something wrong with them maybe, or they start questioning their own confidence, or, well, I can't go play with Timmy because I don't have any friends as it is, or whatever the case might be that you're bringing into the home. The bigger struggle that I have as a parent is not so much avoiding the temper tantrum, but avoiding the thought that my son or daughter thinks that somehow they're less than, right? That's what kind of crushes me sometimes, because they don't understand the why yet. But I think, though, that's part of being a responsible parent. I think it's odd that sometimes we as parents have this view of certain things. Like, I think everybody would agree with me, for example, that feeding your son or daughter Skittles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and nothing but Skittles for weeks on end, although the child might want it, would not be good for their nutritional health, right? There would be objective negative consequences from such conduct, right? And any parent in their right mind would not be doing what they ought to be doing if they did that, right? We can all agree to that at some level. But why do we treat spiritual matters different, right? And I don't understand that. The physical health is just as important as the spiritual health. And so if we're introducing things to our children that cause spiritual stain, similar to Skittles, why do we treat one different than the other? I have some thoughts on that, but I think that one of which is the Skittles have a direct detrimental effect that you're able to see immediately. Whereas sometimes I think we, as parents, don't necessarily immediately see the spiritual sin, and so it's almost easier to overlook, but nonetheless just as damning. So I think that those are things that we need to be vigilant of as Catholic parents.